Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Monday lighting critique. So normally I do these live, but today my wife is at work and I've got my daughter who's 3 months old, about 6 feet away from me here, and she is an unreliable person to stay quiet during these things. So what I'm going to do is record these so that I can cut them up if she starts to cry or needs me for any reason, and then I can post them to YouTube, and I will post the link here. A couple things off the top. You have 5 days left for your October lighting challenge. A lot of beautiful images coming in. A few things I want to mention to those that are still working on it. I would encourage you to challenge yourself to find a new camera location. We're seeing a lot of similar cameras, and it would be great to kind of play with the scene a little bit and get creative with your camera placement. Number two, a lot of these are night scenes, which obviously it's a Halloween spooky scene. Of course it is. So I will challenge you to make sure to pay attention to your color of your lights. With minimal lights in the scene, and with a lot of artificial lights, you can really play up the color saturation and overall color scheme of an image to build an emotional reaction. So I would highly encourage you guys to do that. And then thirdly is making sure that that the main character in the scene is reading, regardless of how small she is or how big she is in the frame. Make sure that you're developing a composition that allows the viewer to read the character a little bit. And that should go a long way. Okay, enough rambling. I'm going to jump into the critiques now, and I will see you guys on the other side. All right. So before jumping fully into the critiques, I do want to draw attention to those that have been participating in our Discord server. You all are amazing. I've been really enjoying it so far. Again, we're going to work through it the rest of the week, play around with it, take a look at what people are up to, what they're sharing, and then we'll do a survey and see if this is something we want to move forward with in place of the Facebook group. So thank you all for being amazing on that. All right, let's get started. So we're going to go through these alphabetically. If you have a submission and you want to look for yours, we've got all the names listed across the top here. So you can hop to, if you want to skip ahead and see your own critique. But I don't recommend doing that because it's really beneficial to see the feedback on everyone's work. Okay, so Aaron, good stuff here. As always, I love the green versus red, the playoff between the colors. What I would like to see is, so this pocket's working really well, this pocket's working really well, but what we're seeing in the additional parts of the image is it's pretty consistent, like especially going all the way across here in the background. And what I would like to see is a little bit of variation within that. And what I mean is it's cool that it's like the value of it overall is great. I would just like to see a little breakup, especially in this region here, to allow the image to get a little darker in the middle before lifting back up here on the screen right side. So I would work on that. I would also possibly consider putting some volumetric rays in that. So like, you know, by breaking it up that way, that could be kind of cool. And then I do think that there's a little more work that can be done in this glass. It still feels, it doesn't feel dark enough to be glass, right? It almost feels like a mirror. So I would just make the dark values darker, and then the reflections are really the only thing that are picking up. So like just the core value of it's a little bit darker. And then, yeah, character's looking really good. I like this amount of light on the ceiling. It would be nice if there's a little bit more on the wall back behind her there. And then it's kind of spilling out there. Yeah, this is all looking good otherwise. I feel like this is in a pretty good spot. I just wonder if we can also bring just a touch more darkness to the scene. Yeah, just a little bit more darkness in there. Just because I want to get some of those rich blacks to pop through just a little bit more. Something like that, so that haze doesn't quite overtake everything. But really great stuff overall, and you are very close. All right, Ashley, you are up next. Really love the scene. Think it's going great. I still feel like there's a touch too much red in their skin tones. Like I just want to pull out just a little bit of that red value and bring them down to just about, oh, I right-clicked. Apparently that draws it all the way to 100. That was weird. Like somewhere in this region for their skin tones. And then let's see, let me look at this. I'm pulling it back so I can kind of squint my eyes at it and look at it in kind of context. So like sometimes what I'll do is I'll pull it like down real small like this to make sure the characters are reading, and then pull it back up, because I think like once you look at it down like this, you can really evaluate the composition. And I do think they're popping off really, really nicely. This is a hard line there. I would just watch out for that triangular shape. It might be, I'm not quite sure what's causing that. It might just be bouncing off the cup, but this isn't bright enough to justify that. So yeah, and then I guess maybe that would be a nice one too if these cups got a little bit brighter. Like if the amount of light hitting on top of them is causing this much brightness, it would also cause a little bit more brightness on the cup. And it's like, it feels like that this would be on that entirety. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not quite sure why this light would be more than, I guess that's from the overhead light, but it seems like it's the same light that's kind of engulfing all of them. So this middle area would kind of pick up a little bit too. So yeah, so pull some of the red out of the skin tone, and then some of the saturation out of the skin tone a little bit, and then just pull it, like nudge it down by like a quarter of a stop too, and just their skin tones, just because they're a little bit overly lit at this point, and then we'll go from there. Let me take off some of my corrections there. Yeah, because her hair. So if we pull back some of the reds here, I would also say make sure you're not losing in the hair there, because you can see by doing that, the hair then turns kind of greenish on both of them, so that's just something to watch out for. So really, it's really all about their skin tones coming down just a touch. But really great job there. Dani, we've got a few submissions here for you. All right, so first up is this scene. Yes, the shaders are starting to look a lot better. This is starting to feel more sunlit down here, which is nice. The bounce light's kind of coming in there. Now I want to do a couple things. I want to ask you, and you can answer me with your next image, which of these two lights is more important to the story you want to tell? Is it the light coming in here from the outside, or is it this one? Because if it's this one under the crown, what I would do is I would keep the brightness on the ground here, but limit the light rays so they kind of stop in here. They just kind of like slowly start to fade off, leaving this centered area so there's not the haze over top of it. And then take this light and crank it up and make it much brighter. And make it not much brighter, but make it brighter. If that light is secondary to the lights coming in, then I would say keep this as is, and possibly even push the rays a little bit more. And this could actually be a really cool scene to push the camera back into the space and allow it to pass through the light rays, if that's something that you were interested in. The other thing that I would encourage you to do from this point is let's start bringing the color back into it a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to think about the color scheme. And we're going to, because this is kind of like the only time and the only situation that we'll see this, let's adjust the color of the shaders to meet that. So if we've got a lot of cool light coming in, it doesn't behoove us. It doesn't do us any favors if these bricks are a warm tone, because they'll just be constantly fighting themselves. So I would consider making the bricks grayer and the ground grayer if you want to make it more of a cooler color palette, which is I think where we were starting from with this. So just some thoughts there. And then yeah, these bricks look good. These bricks here look good. These bricks here look good. And then the last thing I'll say is that these are looking a little janky in there. Like these feel bigger than these, and these just feel extra large. So just take another swipe at those. I do really like how we're just getting like some subtle hints like on this archway. I thought that was really, really pretty. And it'd be nice to get a little bit more of that in some of these areas too. Just like little, like if there's any ledges or anything like that, just like little lips of stuff getting just a touch of light. Really great stuff there. But this is really starting to come along, and I'm really happy with it. All right, Poker Puss. Still a little bit of red in this tentacle bouncing up in there. I would take that down just a little bit. And then the biggest thing, so this character's looking good. This guy's looking pretty good. I would pull a little bit of the brightness right around his feet so his feet can be a little bit more grounded, because right now it just feels like he's floating into the white space. So maybe just like the way that, like, this value, just put that there. Like the fact that you can still see the ground a little bit, it's nice and bright, but it'd be nice if that's where his feet connected. This is what we need to work on now. So what I want you to do is I want you to find some reference of light bulbs or overhead lights with some volumetric light or interior volumetric lighting, or just a little bit, because this is looking wrong and I want to make it right. So the biggest thing is, like, we're not, there's a couple things, like the edge just feels blurry without being like light blur. It just feels like out of focus. Number two, there's no variation in this, which is fine, but it doesn't feel right. It feels like we'd see a little bit more towards the core where there's like a light bulb hanging in here. And then I feel like this volumetric coming out of it isn't right. It feels like it would be, it's just the transition and when it goes off. It just feels like, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, this is where reference comes in, because it's like it just doesn't feel right yet, and I'm not 100% sure why. So let's circle back and find some reference, bring it back, and we'll take a look at getting that right. And then the other thing is just getting a little more shaping on this hat if you can, because you've got good shaping coming across here, and then this area looks pretty flat. So it'd be nice if maybe there was some roll off. So just check, it's more of like a shader check-in on that to make sure the shader's functioning the way that we want. And then this guy. So this one's coming along. I would say for your next iteration to try and add the glow, haze, and maybe some lens flare into it, because we're looking directly into the sunlight. So find your reference and try and match that up, and then we'll go back and make some adjustments from there. But but this one's starting to come together as well. I just want to, because like that really will define the look. So I would post that in there, and then watch out for this guy up here. I'm just getting like obliterated with light, and I think we can go a higher exposure on the sky too, and then watch out for, it looks like some weird low res JPEG stuff in here. But yeah, let's expose up the sky a little bit once you do that too. So great job, and we will continue on from there. All right, Diana. It might be, is Diane or Diana? I think I've called you both, and I think I've seen both written. So please let me know in the Discord channel or on Facebook if you prefer Diane or Diana. Okay. This is looking good. I want to get darker behind the house, I think, because again, like the haze is looking really good. I think it looks really beautiful. This back here, like the sky is too consistent, and I want to see some variation top down and left to right while going back there. I think that we can go darker on this foreground tree. I don't think we need to have it be filled in quite this much. I think it can be like a darker element that's almost just like a framing element that gets our eye focused back in here. Watch out for, like, that plank is very dark up there, and just make sure that that's not misbehaving. I think that this part of the character could possibly gain a little bit of density, just like right in the core, just to get some variation. It's nice that we're seeing some transparency there, but down here, the transparency feels a little bit too consistent. But yeah, this is looking really great overall. The shadows coming down here. Shadows that light's getting a little bit reddish and too saturated compared to the other light that we're seeing, so just watch out for that. And same thing here, like the light that's getting hit here is a little more reddish orangey than the yellow light we're kind of seeing in the rest of the scene. But really great stuff. Just start to find those darker values, and let's really zero it in. Grayson, cool stuff. I do think that we can continue to build some of the darker values in there, so I would work on that. Yeah, that's too dark. But like that in itself is just kind of cool, like that. Like, look at that. Ooh. Sorry. But I do think that, like, because you've got this haze, this fog that's kind of overtaking everything, and it's really cool, and it's like the God rays are looking great, and this saturation's looking really great. It's just, what happens is it's gotten to the point where it's just creating a low contrast image, and we need to up that contrast a little bit. I was also wondering if the moon was even necessary here, because it just feels like there's two different lights that are playing off each other. I think you could kill the moon and just keep the blue light and the red light, and then variations upon that. In terms of the car, the car is throwing me off because it feels like it should be, like, it just feels dead. Like, it doesn't, for some, it doesn't feel like a parked car. It feels like a car that should be on, and I can't figure out why. So what I would do is I would either rotate it around so we're seeing the back of it, or maybe make it more perpendicular and move it over there just a little bit, just to kind of like, because that would help fill in this brighter area and keep this area blocked off to go back this way. I think you can get the core of these rocks darker, and then just pick up a little edge of like a touch, like the minorest touch of red light on there, just to get some shaping, because these rocks are, again, just a framing element that's drawing us back into space. It would be nice, I know it's hard with these hard-edged, like square blocky trees, but just to get a little rim light on there. Yeah, but I think that's it. I think it's coming together really, really nicely, though. I like this one. I like it a lot. Okay, cat. Really beautiful stuff. These headlights are interesting. By the way, I love everything with the foreground for the most part. I think that's looking really well. It's interesting that this, I guess, oh, that's the lip. I see. Yeah. Okay, cool. So maybe it would just be a matter of, like, I wonder if there's any other elements in here we could get, like, a touch of light. Because I'm just, like, this edge is pretty bright, and then there's kind of nothingness around it. So I just wonder if, and if that's just the way it is, that's the way it is. That's fine. But yeah. But the one thing that I was looking at that I really think could be improved upon is the look of these headlights. So right now, they're just kind of shining straight outward. And the way that the headlights would work is they would shine downward, and they would create like a pool of light down here. And then this one would shine downward and create a pool of light there. And there would be like a little bit of overlap in the middle between those two. And then there'd be like rays coming back here from those. But what we're seeing from yours is more like they're shining outward in like this shape, like right, like straight out there, and they're not shining really down. And then when it's totally dark, when the headlights hit the ground, there would be not only more brightness than this, but also like a patterny thing down there, and that would really help you out a lot too. Also, what that would do is create some darkness right along here before we get to the character, because we're losing some punch on the character because this warmer light's creeping up into that space. And then it would just allow her to pop off a little more. And then the edge of these lights should be softened a little bit, because they're a little bit, the headlights are just a little bit softer. But yeah, give that a go. I think she's looking great. I think the house, basically, I think the house itself and her are looking fantastic. So getting these headlights down to get out of her way will certainly help out a lot. So do that for the next iteration. Right, okay. So your next project is based on, it's a poker post based on the some Sin City lighting. What I would highly recommend, because this is a style that comes up a lot, specifically Sin City. So one of the things about the way this film was shot was that it wasn't shot high contrast. It was shot totally normally, lots of lifted values. And what they did was they cranked everything in post-production. And all the color elements they added in post-production too, to kind of, because this is a comic book or a graphic novel, which is simulating the colorist's job in comics and graphic novels. So what you could do, what I would recommend is kind of mimicking that process and what you're creating, and that I would light it normally or less contrasty out of the gate with more shaping. And then what you can do is you can sculpt in the contrast where you need it. Like, so his face has much less contrast than his jacket, has much less contrast than her, because what they did was they sculpted that contrast in the comp by leaving some of this so you can see this part of his eye and then get some of the shaping coming across. Where in this one, if you know, like let's say we wanted to get some more value in some of these, it's kind of gone now because we baked the render out that way, so we kind of lost it. And the red that we're getting out of the hat and the eyes and stuff is a different quality than what you would see if you like painted it in post, right? Because the one thing that's nice about this style is it kind of bleeds a little bit at some parts. You'll see it kind of like slip out, like it's also overly saturated, and it's kind of not fully. It is, but like not fully participating with the light to dark shadow. So what that would mean is that for this hat, you could paint in more red values, and you wouldn't get like the shadow, you wouldn't get that highlight, and you could also increase the saturation a little bit and get that to kind of bleed out over the edges. Watch out for these hard shadows in here. You can soften those up, and there's also like some artifacty lines in there, which I think is just shadow sampling stuff. And I would also, because what I would do is I would shoot this normally with normal textures and then take down the saturation. And then, like if let's just say I wanted to make the hat more purple, you could do something like, you know, this is going to be really janky because I'm not going to take the time to do this, but like, you know, you paint this in, and then whatever, you do it better than this, and then if you dial it in a little bit, you know, you can create a system that like more matches what they were doing in the original, which is like, you know, coloring the negative film. So I would do that, and then like if you want to add, you know, some redness to like this poker chip or something, you can just add that in over the top. And I think that type of style where it's like, you know, color that's not tied to the fully tied to the light and shadow values is something that you could really play off of. In terms of, let's see. In terms of, let's see, the value. So like, I'm looking at their eye values, and it's really important that one of the eyes always goes into almost darkness, right? At least one of them. So I think for your screen left eye, we can allow this one, or really either of them, whichever one you choose, one of them to go into almost darkness, and then we see less of that eye, so we just see a little bit of it. But yeah, it's really good stuff there. Keven, yes. I think this scene makes me laugh because I do just kind of like focus in over here, and then all of a sudden I totally relate to this guy. I do think that this guy can get brighter. And I do think that the area around him can go a little bit darker. So like, I think that, because what you want is for him to pop off a little bit more, something like this. And because he's closer in the foreground, you want him to be a little bit more relatable. I do think that you can also use the position of that light to create, or maybe like the light back behind him or something to create more rim so you can read his silhouette a little bit more. And I also think you can go darker in the sky back here, specifically back behind him there, so that so he doesn't have to fight with the value here to get that to pop a little bit. Trying to figure out if there's a way we can get this character to look a little better, and I think the biggest one would be the eyes can get adjust it a little bit. Like we can, like let's say we brightened around those eyes and then we blurred this up and then we screened it back over. I just want to make the eyes a little bit more special. So get that over. We can take this. Oh. Just add like a little bit of glow around the eyes so that they're a little bit more not quite as contrasty. You can warm that up too. And so there's a little bit of glow around them too. And I think that you could also I think there's more variation you can add to the character going up, down. Like if maybe this light is shining out the bottom for there, and then this part of her torso gets a little bit darker and allows that to get a little bit brighter. Just a little more variation going top down there. And yeah, I think that's a good next step for you there. Kyra, love it, looking great. I think we get a touch more fill on the interior and like just the shadow areas of his snout in here. Like somewhere in that region. So just a little touch more, and then we warm that up too. I don't like the way that's cool. Just to get him on that hero color a little bit more. Something like that. And then really great job with the green light on his cape and on his hat. Looks really beautiful. I would just watch out for like these planks are like, it's just the plank colors throwing me off. Like that, you know, it'd be one thing if it was like, if these were, let's just make these all warmer and then make these all kind of greener and then allow like a little bit of transition. I would also, looking at the background here, These lines are pretty hard edge. I would soften those up a little bit. And then I would also consider making it just a little bit brighter back there. Because I do like the variation. But I think we can go a little bit glowier. And then on top of that, we could, you know, just add a... Oops, let's do it that way. Just do a little bit of Gaussian blur there. Take that down. Just add a touch more blur just right around the middle. Allow those edges to get a little bit darker. Yeah, like something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A little bit of that. Yeah. All right, cool. But love that. And then watch out as I was lifting, I just noticed that the interior of the legs here got and like right back there's a little super dark. Just watch out for that when you're working as well. All right, Lemise. Very cool. I like this one better than your other iteration because there's more like there's just you feel more in the world. You know what I mean? Like you feel more involved in it. I like the colors a lot. I think that these shadows can get a little softer, and I think we can go a little darker behind the car. This line across the top, like it just, if something feels goofy about what we're seeing from the left to the right. I get there's probably a ridge there, but it's just, they feel very different in tone. I want to see just the rim light on the screen left side of the character, a little less on the right. This amount of bounce light in there is looking really nice. And then watch out, like there's something wacky going on down here in the dirt where there's like super high contrast in the bump or in the color. Same thing over in here. So you basically, like, you want a kind of like a softer fall off down here, but you don't want anyone, like, because of the high contrast of it, like my eye kind of gets pulled down here, and I really want to focus in here and here. I also think you probably go a touch brighter on that doorway, or the light coming through that doorway, I should say. And yeah, and I think that you're in a really good spot here. Perle. Got a few here for you to finish up our critique for the day. Love, love, love the colors on this one. So pretty. Love like the soft transition between the purples into the more peachy tones. I think that's great. I think you can go brighter behind the character too, inside of the house. If it's drawing that much light on the edge, you should be able to push that just a touch more. Love this light coming off of here. I'm wondering if we can't push that a little bit darker. This foreground area to kind of, because it almost feels like this headlight is filtrating that, but like it's pretty far over there. So I think we can go darker in here. Watch out. There's, it looks like there's depth of field on these, depth of field blur on these bulbs. Just watch out for that. Cause like, it's totally fine if this is out of focus. I'll even buy that some of this tree is out of focus, but everything past that tree should probably be in focus. And then maybe if there's, and we're not really seeing anything back behind it, so we would throw that out of focus too. But I think all this isn't a fair play for it being out of focus. This guy, sure. This tree, this stuff, all should be in focus. I love, yeah, and just like the rim lights that you're getting and just these subtle pickups on the edges are great. Yeah, I think it's just that minor stuff, but you're in a really good spot. Okay, for this one, much better. Hair's looking a lot better. I think just do a pass at these eyes. Again, it's just the way that the eyes are. By their default, they just, like, the sclera gets these very bright whites and very dingy darks. You really just want to take down you can do it in the comp, or you can do it in the render by just like swapping it out with a new shader on the eye whites. But the easiest way to get it done in the comp is to, if you're rendering an EXR, so like if you render it as just like a JPEG or something, like those bright white values will be, and this one over here will just be super white, and you won't be able to do anything with it, because if you just try and bring it down in value, it's crushed values and it'll just end up looking gray. But if you have an extended pixel range, you can bring down the overall, like by multiplying or grading it down, and then lifting up on the gamma to get these darker midtones brighter on the eye. And then what you want to do is, because there's a clear-cut light coming in from this side, you want to adjust the eyeding so it's more like, so it just mimics the reflection, like the shape of that window on the screen right side coming in the eye. And then lastly on the eyes, and this is very tricky, but we talk about in the class a little bit that the iris of the eye is actually concave. So it's like this outer edge is like here, and then where the pupil is like down further, and then it goes back like this. So what ends up happening is, like, let's say you have, and then you've got the eyeball out here, right? So what happens is, let's say you have light coming in this way. This part of the eyeball gets hit with the light. This part of the iris misses it, and then this part gets lighter. So what that means is, if you've got light coming in this side, it would get more. I was drawing those slash lines, can be confusing. So there's more light on the screen left side of the eye, because as the light comes in here, it's like it's coming in from this side, and it's bypassing the first side and hitting the second side. So like this will be brighter. So basically, I think the bright values on the screen left side are good. It's just a matter of getting some more shadow on this side to create more shaping in the irises. Sounds nitpicky, but on a shot like this where his eyes are super big and staring right at the camera, it will make a good difference. But I think the rest of them is looking pretty good. Right, and then for this one, much better. Really liking this. I really think that like this focus on the character's face is helping out a lot. I would take a stab My next big one for you would be taking a stab at the color of the skin and just warming it up more. Because it's just feeling a little like blue, and especially in the fill side here. And what you want is for this side to feel a little bit more neutral and less blue, and then this side, the warm side isn't bad, right? The warm side's feeling pretty good. It's just the cool side that has kind of sapped all of its blood and energy out of it, and then yeah, so you don't want to feel like the character is desaturated in that way. But the rest of it's looking really good. I like the shaping that you're getting on this flat ground. That's not an easy thing to do. And then I think you could probably reduce the value of this rim light just a touch. And you can, even though this is feeling blue, you can neutralize that as well and make it a little bit whiter. And it would be nice if that followed all the way down her arm and under her hand here too. I mean, I can see the rim light a little bit, but just like follow it down here. Just a touch more. And yeah, and I think that's where we are for today. So if you all have any questions at all, please let me know, and I'm excited to see where we go tomorrow. All right, happy lighting, everybody.